Hey Yogi friends, welcome back. My name is Kelsey. I'm Kelsey Yogi here on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and today we're going to do the fun transitioning from Bhujapidasana in and out of it. Bhujapidasana in itself is a really tough, challenging posture, shoulder pressure pose. It's the beginning of the arm balances for us in Ashtanga, and it's very doable, but it's tough. And then to jump in and out of it, it took me years. It literally took me years to be able to get this, but I have a couple of tricks. So maybe I can help you find your floating in and out of Bhujapidasana. So first of all, let me just show you what Bhujapidasana looks like. Gosh, let's just call it Bhuja or something because it's so extra, Bhujapidasana, all of that. So to set up, I have the legs a little wide, about as wide as the mat, toes turned out. You let the knees bend, bring the hands down on the ground and start to tuck the shoulders under the legs. Now, my teacher always says if you can't even get the heel of the hand down to step back onto your hands, and then to bend the elbows and just hang out here. So this is a great place to start for your Bhujapidasana if you cannot find the full arm balance. But if you're able, Bhujapidasana, we tuck the shoulders right under, sit down on this little shelf that you make with your elbows, lift the feet. I mean, that takes a little practice in itself to kind of play with that. But once you can, we cross the feet and then the full expression. We point the toes back and we drop the chin all over the ground. If you can't do the chin, you can do the forehead, but eventually the chin, and then you come back up. Now you may be thinking, that's going to be the hardest part of Bhujapidasana. And it is, it's quite difficult to be able to get the chin down, and then even more so to get yourself back up. In order to do that, think about yourself as a teeter-totter and find that little play of balance between the head and the butt. So as my head goes down, the butt goes back. And then to reverse that, I have to bring the butt down and lift the head. It takes a little bit of practice, but once you start really putting the weight of your body into the heel of your hand and start thinking of your back like a teeter-totter, your head and your butt being opposite ends, it actually gets to be very doable. But what we really want to focus today on is the transitioning in and out of Bhujapidasana. So it's difficult, and I don't nail it every single time. Please keep that in mind, especially in the middle of your practice. By the time we get to Bhujapidasana, man, I'm tired. I've been doing primary series for quite some time, and I'm still quite tired by the time I get to Bhujapidasana. So jumping in and out of it, it just doesn't always happen, and who freaking cares? So sometimes you'll nail it, and sometimes you won't even be close, and just ride those waves and let it go. But let's practice it so it feels a little bit more doable. We start with it from downward facing dog, and yeah, you just kind of jump into it. But that's a lot. So let's start with the first thing. As my teacher says, leapfrog your feet to the outsides of your hands. So bend the knees, kind of give yourself a little bit of a jump your feet to the outsides of your hands. Now you're set up to walk your feet forward and your hands back, and you get to make your way into the posture. Okay? So that's the first step. You'll just leapfrog your feet to the outsides of your hands, and then you set yourself up. Next step, after you've done that for a couple of months, maybe a year, then you're going to leapfrog your feet in front of your hands, all right? So a little bit more of a jump. I'm going to think about getting my feet to the front of my hands. Make sure that you are bending the elbows back. So see, it's a much bigger jump. Before I landed with the feet here, and now I'm landing with the feet here, all right? You don't want to lock out the elbows. You want the elbows to be able to bend a little bit. Think about the elbows bending back and the feet going to the front, all right? So that will look like this. Jump to the front, and then you can bend the elbows and cross the feet and take your posture. Okay, but the idea is that we want to be able to jump right into the posture itself, slide the legs right under the backs of the arms, cross the feet, down we go. So it's going to take time, and you have to have very stable shoulders. So make sure that you feel very, very strong through the shoulder girdle, that you can have a little bit of bent elbow strength. So, if you don't have that, maybe work on holding a bent arm down dog, a bent arm plank position. Work on finding that bent arm strength so that you feel like you can hold yourself when the arms are bent. And then we're going to get to the place where we can start to jump and land with the feet out in front of us, all right? So when you're doing this, it's a short down dog, first of all. It's a short down dog. It's not my longest down dog. It's a short one. I'm going to look forward. I'm kind of looking to the center, middle and center of where my hands are. So like a triangle here. I'm going to think about sitting the butt low, bending the elbows, and kicking the legs out in front of me. So let's see. Little jump. The legs are more out in front. Yes. All right, but now I want to get it even more so the legs stay lifted. And all of this takes a lot of repetition, a lot of patience and practice. So looking forward, drop the butt, short down dog. Legs are up. All right, that's an even bigger transition. I'm jumping and the legs are staying up. Now I have to jump legs up, cross the feet. All right, so as we do this, gaze is forward, butt is low, short down dog, all the things. A little launch, legs out, and cross. And you can see that as I start to cross the feet, right away, that right comes in front of the left. That's traditional in Ashtanga. Right comes in front of the left, and as the feet come back to go behind the hands, the chin starts to drop. So you get this transition. Let's see if we can come right into it. Alrighty? Short down dog, really pressing out of the heel of the hand, the gaze is forward. And I'm gonna think to myself, I'm a little compression between the belly and the thighs. Great. Legs are gonna go straight to keep them lifted, and then they're gonna go right into a cross position. So look, butt low, whoop, and chin down. And maybe that wasn't my smoothest transition ever, but you know, we get lots of opportunities since we practice Ashtanga all the time. So think to yourself, butt low, shoot the feet out, cross them, send the feet back, drop the chin. So let's see if we can come to the full expression. No pressure, no pressure. Cool, so that was fun. Now that you're in Bhujapidasana, how do you get out? So we found our way in, and it's gonna take practice. You may work on that for a year or two, or like me, 6 or 7. So be patient, but then we have to find our way out of Bhujapidasana. And traditionally, when we are in Bhujapadasana, we lift back up out of the B position. B position, the chin is on the floor or the forehead, and then we lift back up, and then we climb our legs back onto our arms and we come into a crow pose. And that's just a lot, you know? So we've talked about making that teeter-totter transition from the floor back up. So now we're back up. Now you want me to come into crow pose? Yeah. So start with just uncrossing the feet and swimming the feet back, okay? So the feet are up. I kind of bend one knee at a time, point the toes back. It's a really funky looking crow, but it's a crow. And so let that happen at first. I'm always saying in our practice, like, let the practice be messy. Let it be messy. And with time and consistency and a little determination, you go from messy to a much more pretty looking posture. So just find a way, however it is you gotta do it, to get your legs back. It'll be draggy. It'll be like, oh my God, how do I even, this is horrible. And I'm gonna climb into my crow and I'm gonna jump back. Wasn't as elegant as you would have wanted it to be, and sometimes that happens, but in that lack of elegance is the struggle. And in that struggle, you're building your strength. That's it, that's where you need to hang out. Nothing amazing, glorious happens when we get very floaty. It's fun, but the struggle, oh, that's where you're learning everything. So after you have transitioned from, okay, I'm up, I'm gonna swim the legs back one at a time, I'm pretty good at that now. I want you to start thinking about how can I swim the legs back at the same time. The butt kind of has to stay low, and the feet have to stay lifted. Okay, I'm pushing out the shoulders, flexing the feet, and swim them back. And then maybe from here, you just kind of hop back. But you want to take it to even more. And what has to happen is the abs have to lift the legs. And that is no easy feat. But when you're in that little funky crow, use the strength of your abs to lift your legs up. It takes a lot of practice. Think about pushing out of the hands. Think about rounding the upper back and using the abs to draw the knees higher up the triceps. And then for a long time, it may not be pretty. We don't need pretty. We just need possible, right? All right, so you're coming up from your Bhujapidasana. You lifting your gaze. You swim, see how this big push, big push, big push, big push. And then I use my abs, pull the knees up. Now I can shoot the legs back. And with time, that's gonna get a little bit more floaty, a little bit prettier. And in the middle of the practice, who really cares? Who really cares how pretty it looks? But you start to work on finding more and more strength through that transition. You know, first it's just swimming the legs back into crow at a time, and then you're swimming the legs back into crow at the same time, and then maybe you lifted your legs up into a real crow by using your inner strength and not just putting your feet down and climbing on them. And it's gonna happen in little tiny steps, little tiny increments, but you'll see this transition start to come about. And then before you know it, you'll have this full transition where you feel super good about the posture, and you're feeling your inner strength, your bandhas that are lifting you up. So let's come into our Bhujapidasana one more time together. Take your 5 breaths, come back up. No easy feat, but it can be done. And it just takes practice, determination, and a little bit of patience. Okay, that's it for today, guys. I hope you found your Bhujapidasana, your shoulder pressure pose, your first arm balance in Oohh Ashtanga, and you're starting to feel like it's possible. Make sure that you comment down below. Let me know what else you want to see as far as your arm balances, your handstands, any of that kind of stuff goes, or maybe your Oohh Ashtanga breakdowns. That's it. Check me out on Instagram and on TikTok. And make sure you subscribe. Please subscribe. You guys have an amazing day. Take care. Namaste.